Well, we're delighted to be here with Dan Pink today. Dan, we have been very pleased to have him as a speaker at at least one, if not two,
twice
of our AASA conferences, twice, where he shared with us his insights from one of his previous books, A Whole New Mind. But we are delighted to hear that he's about to come out a brand new book, which is called Drive, The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us. And that sounds like it's going to be a really exciting book.
I hope so, yeah.
And one of the things that you've always done for us is to sort of relate what you write about to education, since our members are basically school superintendents and school administrators. So what are we going to learn from Drive?
Well, I think one of the things that educators will learn is that they actually understand motivation better than the business world. There's this mythology out there that business people understand all these things better and that educators have to learn from them. But I think this is one case on motivation where educators really understand motivation better than business people. Business people, our business kind of operating system is built almost entirely on carrots and sticks, on rewards and punishments. And that mechanistic approach works well for certain kinds of things. It really does. But for complex, creative, sophisticated tasks, those kinds of if-then rewards, if you do this, then you'll get that, don't work. And that's not, again, that's not a feeling. There's 40 years of evidence that shows this. And I think educators actually understand this. Business people, I think, really don't. And there's this growing mismatch between what science knows and what business does.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that, because prior to my coming to AASA as executive director, I did a stint in the private sector. So I've had the opportunity of being in both worlds. And I very much relate to what you're saying, because education is quite different. Mm-hmm. And certainly as building principals or school superintendents, we really have to look at a very different approach.
Sure.
And I think one of the elements that you focus on in your book is the external versus intrinsic motivation.
Absolutely.
How do you see that?
Well, and educators understand that. I mean, educators know what intrinsic motivation is. For a lot of business people, that's actually kind of a surprise, this idea that people will be motivated by something internal, by the joy of the task itself. I think that educators understand that. They understand that's when the light bulb really goes on in a kid's head. That's what's causing that light bulb to go on. My view, looking at, again, this is a very science-based project. I mean, looking at essentially 40 years of research in this shows that in intrinsic motivation is a pathway to high performance, not extrinsic motivators. Extrinsic motivators, these kinds of carrots and sticks, these if-then rewards, are terrific for very simple, very straightforward, rule-based kinds of tasks. If you want people, say, to stuff as many envelopes as possible in a certain amount of time, pay them per envelope. You will get more envelopes stuffed. But if you wanted to do something creative, whether it's invent something, whether it's come up with paint a great painting, come up with a great advertising campaign, master some kind of conceptual learning, these if-then rewards, what they do is they focus people's attention very narrowly on the reward, and it blinkers out everything else. And in business, I think that we can point to a lot of the failures in business by this kind of mania for if-then rewards. And there's an alternative. There's an alternative built around autonomy, which is the desire to be self-directed. It's built around mastery, the urge to get better and better at something, and it's built around purpose, the desire to do what we do in the service of something larger than ourselves. And I think our kids are actually these exemplars of the desire to be self-directed, the yearning to be active and engaged, the quest for mastery. I mean, that's what little kids especially are about. And yet something happens along the way where we kind of flip the default set.